the panel. My name is Rebecca, and I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Unpublished Magazine, and I'm so excited that you are able to join us on this lovely Sunday. So me and Chase, who is our creative director, will be just chatting with you guys with Abby from All My Friends Zine.
Hi guys, I'm Abby. I'm the editor-in-chief and creator of All My Friends. It's like a online and print community started in 2019.
Cool. So Abby's the editor-in-chief, like she just said, and she loves AMF because of the community that it encapsulates and all the amazing opportunities found through the platform. She is a Phoebe Bridgers stan and will talk your ear off about backpacking the Pacific Crest Trail anytime you'd like. So feel free to ask her a bunch of questions in the chat. We will be going through a bunch of your questions, a bunch of our questions, and just sit down and have this awesome conversation with her. So feel free to start asking questions. So the first thing is, tell us about yourself, Abby, who you are. We want to know who you are.
Oh my goodness. My name's Abby. I am 17 and I'm from Los Angeles, California. I rowed competitive crew before the world shut down, so I don't anymore. But I really love to make magazines, and I found that passion when I was 15, which is crazy to think about. So I basically am the person behind All My Friends with 3 others, Katie, Lena, and Ava. And we kind of, design, we run the social media, and we put out magazines, and it's super fun because I love like that. I kind of like, there's this platform and I really love seeing people like fall into themselves through All My Friends. And I feel really lucky to like be a part of that.
Awesome. Abby, would you mind telling us where the name comes from, like, and what All My Friends means to you specifically?
Yeah, totally. So I'm really bad at Spanish. I've always been really bad at languages my whole life. And so my summer before my sophomore year, my mom was making me do these like packets, these like Spanish packets, because I think I got like a D in Spanish the year before. So she was like, okay, like come on, like I know you can do this. And so I simultaneously that summer I was like doing a lot of photography, and I was like looking into magazines, and I didn't feel like there was a platform that was targeted towards young people in the way that I really wanted it to be. And when I looked to magazines, I felt like it was to like a 20-year-old audience, and I really didn't feel like I had a place in that. So I was doing my Spanish packets one day, and I was having to translate like All My Friends. I don't even know how to say it in Spanish. That's how bad I am. And todos mis amigos or something. And I was like, oh, that would be like a cool name if I ever tried to start anything. And then the first issue was actually just my friends from school, all of like their work and my work. So yeah, that's how I started.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit the story behind how you first put together your zine, the first issue?
Totally. So in my mind, AMF was going to be like more of like a Riot Girl zine and more of like a fan zine. So I collected like a bunch of my friends' work, and I designed the first issue on InDesign. And I really wanted it to be, I'm a big journaler, like I love journaling. And so I wanted it to be the same size as these moleskins that I always use. So it was like this pretty small, it was like that big magazine. And yeah, I printed it by hand. I print, cut, and stapled it by hand, which took like 3 days. Me and my mom at like FedEx every single day, just like punching the stapler. But it was super fun. And I would never do it ever again. It was like so much work, and I realized like this is not how I can like spend my time doing this. But I don't know, I loved it. It was like, whoa, this is like an actual thing that it was in my brain, and now I'm holding it in my hands. And that was kind of like that switch moment where I was like, oh, okay, like this is real, and I can, like, things that I imagine can like become reality.
So cool. I love how like you said, it comes from your brain and then like now it's in your hands. I'm curious, like, what is it like now that you're not making the zine with your hands? Like, what do you feel like the difference is from making that first one literally with your hands and like now it's this whole thing and you know it's bigger and how is it? How does it feel? How has it changed?
Totally. I think, well, I know I still get that same feeling of gratification when I, like get a proof back for an issue, because when we designed the first one, it was me, or like no one knowing really like how to design a magazine. So it was pretty quick. It was like, layer these two photos, done with the spread, put text in, done with the spread. So now it's like, you know, I just spent like 3 days designing one page, and now it's like a different feeling of, I put a lot of work into little pieces that like almost feel like they're coming from my hands again, because it's like so like minute how much I am crazy and put like attention into things. But yeah, I feel like I still get that same feeling of gratification where it's like, although I didn't make this by hand, I put so much love into this that like now it's alive.
That's awesome. So you had this idea, right? And how did you start getting the concept to like actually making the zine? Like, how did that all form?
Oh my goodness. Well, after the first issue, I was like, this, like this could be something. Um, and so I actually reached out to Sophie from Luna Collective, and I was like the biggest fangirl ever. I was like, oh my God, I have the biggest, like, you're like my biggest celebrity crush. Like, I've looked up to you like this whole point. Like, you're so cool, blah, blah, blah. And she like totally took me under her wing, and she was like, look, we're doing this show in like downtown LA in September. Like, you should vend and like sell your stuff and like blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I go to this show and I'm selling my magazines, and no one buys anything. No one buys anything, which is totally fine. But I was like, oh, okay. So if this is something that I want to sell to not just my friends who I go to school with and my grandparents, like, how am I going to tailor that to, like, if I was the buyer, what would I want to buy? So then I kind of like we kind of took a step back, and like going into issue 2, it was like, what do we want to build this into? So then for issue 2, we like, you know, had a real cover shoot, and actually got a printer to print it. So yeah, that's kind of like where that switch was.
What was the point specifically where you started bringing on other like kind of full-time team members, you know, or like added people or started developing a team, and how did that go?
Totally. So I've, like, in my life, I think have always really liked to do something like 4 steps ahead of when I should be doing it. So right when I decided that summer that I wanted to start a magazine, I made an Instagram and made a blast Instagram post to like, we're like need team members or whatever. And coincidentally, 4 girls were like, hi, I want to, like, can we do this? And I was like, sure. Like, I don't know. I don't like this like in my mind, it was like, okay, this is like a one-time thing, and I just like need people to edit this. Um, and of course, like 2 of them became like my best friends, and like have been in this magazine with us like the whole time. But yeah, like I don't know. I think that I kind of had this intuition where I was like, oh, I guess I should have people helping me out on this. But I'm not really sure, and I definitely don't know what I'm doing. So it would be nice to like have other people keep me in check.
Awesome. So, what is the most important thing, in your opinion, to keep in mind when finding people to join your team?
Yeah, I've 100%. I'm so bad at communication. I'm so bad at responding to things, and I'm so bad at like in my head. Sometimes I'll be like, tell like Lena that I need to ask her something, and then in my head I would have asked her already. So it's like that's a box that's ticked if I even think about it. So I'm really bad at communication, and that's like something that AMF has definitely like helped me work on, is like no one can read your mind, so you need to actually talk to them. Um, but I think I've definitely made mistakes with building a team, especially when it comes to feeling like you need to fill positions. Um, when you want, sometimes you want it to look like you have this giant team and you're like this big established whatever. Because I think I've definitely like blind recruited people. So like recruiting people off like a Google form instead of like having face-to-face Zoom calls or FaceTimes are is so vital, because I think like genuinely you do not know who you're talking to if it's through a Google form. Um, so definitely like making sure that you are personally in a position to take people onto the team and like to have the communication skills to like manage a team, because that's something that I've totally messed up on, is like bringing people on and then realizing that I don't have the skills, that I'm not ready yet to like really communicate with that many people on such a large scale. And also like
Oh,
really,
Shiva,
really,
give me.
really, really knowing and liking um, like who you're working with, because it just makes it overall like the biggest thing. It makes it so much more fun. And then you're like, oh my God, I literally am working with my best friends and this is amazing.
Cool, cool. I love how you said communication can be tough because, you know, anybody who starts a new project is going to have areas of trouble. If you could like go back and sort of do it again, you know, or like start to build up the team or start the magazine, like what are some things that you would maybe do differently, or that you would tell yourself or you would focus on with the knowledge that you know now?
Oh, whoa. Um, I mean, I guess this is kind of counterintuitive, but I think like really fucking up, sorry, really messing up with AMF has like obviously taught me more how to like run a business myself, or like as a teenager with other teenagers, but like more importantly, it's like human beings are real, you know, like sometimes it's like if you have this kind of like disconnected relationship with people like through a screen, like to remember that like everyone is at the same level of humanness as you are. So it's like that's something that I really terribly realized too late, was that like there's no such thing as like anyone being high and mighty. It's like you need to make sure that you're on the same level as everyone else to really keep a healthy connection with everyone. So I don't think I would go back and change anything. I mean, I think if I did, like, I mean, who knows? But I don't think we'd be in the place that we are now, and I feel really lucky to be in the place that we are now. Because, and also, I think I've learned a lot from the mistakes that I've made. Um, and so, yeah, I don't think I would change anything.
Yeah. So when it comes to inspiration, where do you personally find inspiration, and where as a whole team, do you guys find inspiration when it comes to the zine?
Totally. So, um, I took a hiatus from AMF for the past 4 months, from August, December, and I basically didn't do anything at all in terms of the magazine for 4 months. And I found myself like noticing different things that I subconsciously wanted to like incorporate into the magazine when I was like taking a hiatus. So like I would like be on a walk with my parents and I would see some graffiti, or I'd be like, oh, that would be cool to like incorporate some sort of spray paint look into a cover one day, or blah blah. And like that was never how I looked at it before. So it was like for the first time I was able to be like kind of looking at it at almost an outsider's point of view, where I was like, oh, inspiration like literally lives all around me, like, on the table, on the glass, on everything. Um, and I felt really like lucky to have that time away to like start looking at things differently. But in terms of the team, it's really nice because all four of us are different ages. So Katie's 20, Lena and Ava are 18, and I'm 17. So like having that difference of age too, I think like totally helps in terms of inspiration. Because like we are so different and we've like all had very different lives, like being able to take everyone's personal, like, not vibes, but you know what I mean, like into like this one like melting pot of like ideas is really great. And then definitely like seeing how amazing other zines are, I think like totally like pushes me to like become like more inspired and like look at things in a new way. And Pinterest, just saying, so good. It's so good.
I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Yep. Gotta love Pinterest. Honestly,
Yeah,
never
so
lets me
good.
down.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there a specific thing that you go to when you're looking for inspiration and you're not finding any? And maybe it's the hiatus approach, but do you have certain strategies or tips for maybe other people who, I guess, suffer from writer's block or stoppages in the process?
Totally. I'm definitely a writer's block extraordinaire. Um, and one thing that I've kind of like learned is, when I'm feeling stuck, what I really love to do is put on music that I've never heard before. For some reason that like turns on a light bulb in my head. If I'm like not knowing what I'm listening to, sometimes that pushes me in a certain direction, or like hearing a song for the first time and like hearing lyrics make me think of one thing or another. So that's really nice. I also, when I'm feeling stuck, I like to like change my environment. So sometimes I will like, before COVID, like go to a coffee shop or to the library or to a park and like work there. Um, and then like obviously also before COVID, but like seeing friends and like, I guess that's the hiatus approach, but like taking a step back, I really do believe changes your perspective on things. So like cutting yourself some slack and like knowing that it's totally normal to have writer's block, I think is super important. And taking a step back and then coming back stronger, I think is totally like totally awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on a lot of like, we have a lot of similarities between the way you find inspiration, and same thing with me. Like I love working at coffee shops or just like my surroundings in general. So I know you said you also like journaled a bit. How do you balance your writing and mental health together?
I mean, I think sometimes I noticed that I pair like working on the magazine with the my well-being of my mental health, which is something I really try to work on, because I think it's dangerous when you start, you know, this makes me happy and this is the only thing that makes me happy. Um, so I try to make sure that working on AMF is like a very sacred and special thing. Like that obviously does make me so happy, but like I don't need to rely on that for joy, which definitely got hard during, lockdown, when sources of joy are scarce sometimes. Um, but I don't know, I journaling has always been a really great outlet for me, because um I really love just like spilling it all on there. It's like almost having a human with you, that is like open to for you to vent anytime. um and I think it's, for me, been a really great resource to just like spill my guts when I need to. Um, and in that way, I think when I'm feeling like AMF is super tied to my only source of happiness, like having that outlet to be separating AMF from joy and also being able to look back on times where I felt joy outside of AMF, I think is super important. And like the journal or my journal works as like a time capsule in that way that can like take me back to memories like that.
Super cool. Super. I love that time capsule like kind of framework. That's a cool way of looking at it. I'm curious also, like how that process of balance went, especially during like the entirety of the craziness that was 2020, with like all these things going on, and obviously not being able to go to coffee shops and stuff like that. How did things kind of change, and like how was running AMF like during that entire period?
Um, I think that honestly, like the lockdown for AMF and for me at least kind of came as a blessing in disguise because all of a sudden I had all of this time that I really didn't know how to fill except like, oh, I can literally do this all day because I have nothing else to do and I can't do anything else. Um, so it was kind of great because like, I mean, we were just like working through all of these projects that we've been wanting to do for so long and we just never had time because we obviously all have our outside lives. Like this isn't any of our paying jobs. um so it was really great because like all of a sudden we had a bunch of time. But I think with that really comes this like omnipresent kind of like burnout ish. And I think I definitely felt that towards like the middle of the summer where I was like, wow, I just spent so much time on this and like I don't know if I have anything in me left. And I think like with Katie and Lena and Ava, that was like a general consensus of a feeling where it was like we just spent so much time on it and like now what do we do? So it was great and it was also really tough because it's like after you do one thing for so long, like how like it's hard to keep it up. But I think in the long run it was super beneficial to have that time because we got to have time to create some really great stuff that we had been wanting to create, and definitely get closer, um, and get more invested. I think generally in the end, it was like a huge investment that I feel really happy about.
Yeah, I agree on that. Like, Unpublished wouldn't have started if it wasn't for like quarantine and the lockdown. And I feel like I've seen a lot of zines like emerge because of this time. And it's really awesome because like there are so many out there that people can submit to. And, it's like so easy in starting your own. And it's really just as simple as it gets. So, how do you balance now that things have shifted a little with quarantine and we've been in it for the long haul? How do you balance like school, personal life, and the magazine? And how do you think that's going to change like after life goes back to normal or things start moving up again?
Totally. Well, school is school, like that, I'm a minor, I don't have a choice. So it's like kind of I'm in it and I it's I'm gonna say this, but I do not believe it, so I don't know how I'm gonna say it, but like it's something that I try to accept, even though it's frustrating because it's like, when am I ever gonna use calculus in my life? Like, you should be teaching me how to do my taxes, but you're not. So it's like weird sometimes. Um, but I like school ish kind. I like aspects of school, and I think like that is a solid like chunk in my life right now where it's like, okay, this is when you do school, and that's something that you have to do. Um, so I yeah, so like that's what school is right now, and then like in my mind I think of it like a chunk and then you can like put other chunks around it, so it's like school is a chunk that you can't move, and then like AMF and mental health and friends, attempting to see friends is like chunks that you can move around that block. um, and I think the first chunk that I always move is AMF. And I always move that second. So what I have been doing is like I finish school for the day and then I try to go outside, because I don't do that very much right now because it's like a lot of on computer time. So yeah, I try to go outside or like go on a masked walk with a friend. And that's always nice to have a break, but I'm not always super good at it. Um, and then and then coming back in and like working on AMF for 2 or 3 hours every day, and then on the weekends it's usually a bit more, and then homework, and then trying to give myself a couple hours of like nothing every day, just because I think it's good for your creativity, but it's also definitely hard because I think like like since like lockdowns happened, I think it's like hard to find outlets where you feel like you want to be doing anything else except like watching TV or like, you know, for me, it's like doing AMF. So really trying to restrict myself because I think in the long run, it helps a lot more if you have time for yourself. But it's hard. It's hard. And I think like everyone is really doing their best right now. And it's so extremely impressive that people are like really living or attempting to live their lives through this really weird time, especially in the US. So yeah.
Awesome. I love the comment about like having space to do nothing or kind of sit with yourself, because I feel like especially as young people, our brains tend to just be very active, and like we like having active brains, but obviously sometimes that'll run you into trouble when you just need to like calm down or just sit around and do nothing. So that's really cool. Are there any things that you do specifically, like tactics or structures that you use to kind of support organization or like the overall organization of AMF or of your life, like kind of like that block structure or that chunk structure you were talking about? Or are there any like tools that you use, anything specifically?
Um, I had a phase last year that lasted for a month. I was super into bullet journaling and it was super unlike me, like not good at organization at all. So it was everyone was like, "What? Who are you? Are like where's Abby's body? Someone give her back." Because that is not me. Like I don't know where that came from, but it was great and it really worked for like 3 weeks or a month. And then it was like boom, like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. Um, I love Google Calendar. I love Google Calendar so much because like if you have Gmail, you have access to Google Calendar, and so like for me personally, being able to put in like I have class, I have a break, I have class, like just being able to see that is super helpful for my brain. And then Airtable, my mom is really into this. She's so into it, but it's like Excel on steroids and it's so nice. And like that's my go-to organization thing. And everyone on the team hates it because I don't know, but they hate it. But I love it. And that's super helpful for organization, especially if you like need to see numbers. That's so helpful. But that's kind of off topic. But yeah, so Google Calendar is great. And I like to write myself notes. But I don't have a specific journal for notes. So they always end up on different sticky notes and I never find them. So that's kind of bad, but yeah.
I agree with you on that. Our team like lives, breathes, and eats like Google Calendar. That's where everything is. That's such a good way for like organization so that everybody can kind of see what fits into their schedule. But going back to like identity of like who you are in AMF, how did you market yourself like to a specific niche? And how did you really like separate yourself from all of the other zines out there? Like what made you guys different?
Geez. Okay, my team's first of all, my team's slandering me in the comments. So that's what that is. They're not strangers. And oh geez, that's a tough question because like honestly, I think that I uh, uh, it's hard. Okay, so I have this thought that ever since Rookie went down, I feel like there in my head, I've always been trying to chase that. Been trying to chase Rookie. Um, and I think at a certain point I was like, you don't need to do that. Like, you don't need to do that at all. Like, that is like, if that's what you want to do, like, go for it. But also, like, this has become your own, or like, this is not Rookie. Like, this is different from Rookie. And like, as much as you think you need to be Rookie because Rookie raised you more than your parents did, like, you don't like need to like follow in their footsteps. And I think that, I don't know, I think that like that's been helpful because I don't, it's hard because I think that like all the zines and everyone in the community makes like such amazing work. And I don't know if I can say that I feel like AMF is special in like a very specific way. Um, but I think like finding the niche, again, it's like, I think I went into Pinterest in the early days and I made a Pinterest board and like really found inspiration through that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, that's a really hard question. I don't know. I think like having, when everyone's in on it 100% and everyone loves it so much, like that's when your content like will reflect your joy to be working on it. But yeah, that was me rambling. Sorry.
That's great. It sounds like you know, like the journey is better than the destination. So as long as you're kind of in the creative process, like that's where the joy is coming from, and that's what people are interested in, and that's what it sounds like your team is interested in. It also kind of sounds like maybe, and I wonder, you know, let me know if I'm misinterpreting, but maybe you're still like honing in on what exactly the niche is and what exactly like that nugget is. Are there things that have like, are there any, you know, aside from like Rookie, are there any other places that are like super heavily inspirational, or like things that you think are really close to what your, you know, core beliefs are?
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I think 100% what you're saying. Like it's like less about, I don't, well, first of all, I have no idea where the destination is. So it's like for me, I don't think I can think about the destination because I have no idea how to fathom it. So yeah, it's definitely about the journey. And I think like, I don't know, I think like along the way, you're always pulling from new things and like, oh, like I'm really obsessed with that right now. Like, let's look at that a lot. Like I was really into like National Geographic magazines from like the 60s this summer for some reason. I was like really into that. And then I was like, we should, and like in my head, I was like, Planet, like the third issue would look like that could be cool if we tried to reflect at that and like blah blah blah. And I mean, I don't know. I think that everything kind of like goes into like forming that niche, I guess. I think like music for me is a huge thing. Um, I got to interview like one of my favorite bands for issue 4. Thanks for coming, and the name of their song was like the theme of the issue, which was really cool. So yeah, I think, I don't know. I feel like everything kind of influences that like niche. But yeah, it's definitely ever evolving, like never in one place at all. So
Yeah, definitely. That I can totally see that. You guys, I feel like you guys cater to a lot of different people and a lot of different creators. So, what is it like engaging with people on social media? And what do you think are the best methods of engaging and creating this community within your followers?
um okay. I didn't get TikTok. I wasn't on it. I was like, what is this app? I don't know about it. I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know how I feel about this for a very long time. And then I got on TikTok and I was like, okay, this is funny. Like, this is cool. And I was, as a joke, I was like, okay, I'm going to make an AMF TikTok. And I wake up the next morning and I have like, there's like 300,000 views on this video. And I'm like, WTF? Like, huh? I didn't know, like, this isn't like, what? Um, and so I think 100%, like, my biggest thing is like social media, as twisted and as weird as it is designed to help people share what they want to share. And I think like I'm bad about thinking about it that way, but when you do, it's like this is a tool that could like really, really help me. Um, and I think like that's what I try to think about like AMF socials as. But I think TikTok is just it's so great. It's so great if you're trying to like build a brand because the algorithm is so tailored to having people go viral really easily. And so I definitely recommend that.
Cool. Are there any like specific things that you do on TikTok or on Instagram to like to engage with people, whether it's like, broadcasting and like signal boosting, or even just like doing polls or Q&As or things like that? Are there any things that you've enjoyed doing?
Um, Lena recently, shout out Lena, has been doing these like Instagram polls about like more like personal internal questions, which have been really cool to like see, obviously like anonymous and well, I guess they're not anonymous, but like seeing the numbers of like people responding to these questions and like they're bigger than any other interaction that we really get. So like that's super interesting to see like people wanting to engage with more like internal and not like deeper, but like more self-reflective questions on social media. And the other thing is I really love to randomly go live and just like hang out. I think it's so funny. And sometimes like I'll guest people and like it's just like random and dumb, but it's like really fun. And everyone's like, who the hell is this girl? Because I don't really like ever show my face on the social media. But just like getting in conversations with strangers, it's kind of like Omegle, but like one-sided, and you like it's kind of like your community, so it's really fun. So yeah, I think that's super fun for Instagram. And then on TikTok, I like to I don't really know what I'm doing on there, so I just like, oh, I'm gonna make a collage, and I might as well make a TikTok out of it, because like who knows, that could help us, so yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think going live is such a good way to like build a community and for your followers and people who love your zine to get to really know who you are. So, kind of moving on and talking about the actual design aspect, what does the process of designing an issue look like?
Yeah. So yeah, we have done it a couple different ways. We always use InDesign, and we take submissions, and submissions are usually open for a month. That's how we've done it. It's general submission, so we look through all of them, and then we put everything into an Airtable and kind of sort through everything. And all the four of us go through the content a couple times, and like we create some numbers about like how many pages can we fit, how many like writings do we need, how many tutorials do we need, blah blah blah. So we block out like sections and pages and interviews, and then we try to fit as much as we can into those numbers. And then the four of us do designing, and then I wish InDesign would be so helpful, but InDesign doesn't have a feature where you can like share your InDesign file, and it's so frustrating. Like why don't they have that? It's literally like they're made for making books and magazines, and no, like not very many people make a magazine by themselves, so they should have that feature. But I usually am the one who well, I am the one who puts everything into InDesign, and then we usually design on Photoshop actually, because I find it easier to like have actual elements be moved around in Photoshop. We don't put text in on Photoshop. Sometimes it's like it really is up to the spread to think about like how much should I be putting into this before I put it into InDesign in Photoshop. So yeah, so then we designing is like, I love designing so much. Like if I could do something for the rest of my life, it would be like me on my computer in the dark, like with my trackpad, just like scrolling. Um, and so that's definitely my favorite part. Should I go into editing right now or should I
Yeah, if you
skip that?
want.
Okay. So then once we have a draft, we take it to the four of us and we usually like up to 5 or 6 like 2 to 3 hour Zoom calls, and we go through everything. Fun fact: Generation Dreamer issue 2 has several typos, so if you have one, you should go find them. And it's really embarrassing. But yeah, we like iron out all of the writing, make sure that I didn't write anything incorrectly because that always happens. And then we send it off to the printer.
Super cool. And when it comes to your website is beautiful and I've seen it change a couple of times that I've been around and I love the concept behind that. What do you guys use? How do you guys do it?
So currently, I did the recent update, but we use Squarespace, which is great. Love Squarespace. Sometimes feel like it's hard with Squarespace to kind of make your site different from the templates because like they don't allow for a lot of like creativeness, which is sometimes frustrating. But I'm a huge fan of the Squarespace Commons. If you go in there and you need to figure out some code, just copy and paste it. It will be a lifesaver. Um, Definitely like learning a little bit of code is super helpful and like helps in the long run. But yeah, I mean, the website's like a year and a half old, um, and it's always changing, like always. And we're always trying to make it better. But yeah, it's fun because it's like this isn't print and this can always be changed. So like, what do we want to do with this? It's like kind of fun and exciting.
Cool. Do you have any advice for, let's say, somebody who is just starting out their own zine on how to construct their website, what tools to use, how to design the print issue? What are you like InDesign and Squarespace are like the way to go, or are there any other things that you'd recommend, to supplement those?
Um, well, I think it's like you can do it a million different ways and they're all going to look amazing. I've heard Canva works really well for designing, and it's free, which is awesome. I've heard Google Slides. You can design on Google Slides, which I have never tried, but seems like a great option. I think designing by hand and like scanning is like so cool and so impressive if you feel like you have the like time and like the focus to be able to like do that. It just like blows my mind away to see handmade zines all the time. I'm like, whoa, that could literally never be me. So yeah, I think like it doesn't like really my one of my big things is like it all that matters is how much you're willing to put into it and like your work will reflect that. But I think that like when I look back on early issues, sometimes I feel discouraged. Well, sometimes I it takes me back to that time because it's like I have so many more skills and I'm so much more confident in myself because I stuck with this at a time where I felt like I didn't know how to do it. And I think like really time reflects your work and you'll get so much better as like time moves on. But yeah, I think any tools that you feel like are right for you will be right for your magazine, and it'll make a really great magazine. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're living in like the best time to create something like this resource wise, just because the internet has endless opportunities and resources you can use at your disposal. So, since your website is always evolving and changing, how does your actual print zine look? Like, how are they all different? How does the theme change the layout and how exactly it just works?
Yeah. So, well, yeah. Okay. So, before each issue, we make like a Pinterest board. Um, and so we like kind of have our core ideas about how we kind of want it to look, the colors, the content, if we're looking for specific content. Yeah. So like that's kind of how we start off. Um, and then I mean, every issue is so different because I think personally my graphic design skills have gotten better since like the first time I went on Photoshop 2 years ago. So I think like each time it's like kind of getting better and better and like looking more like a magazine. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like that's that. But oh, also sizing, we've gotten bigger, and so, like, I think that's important to think about as well because it's like, if you want it to feel like a real magazine, like, that's what I wanted, um, then you wanna go bigger, or if you want it to feel like more like a fanzine, you can go smaller, but yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I like that too. You know, it's so sometimes people think that there are like specific sizes to things, but I totally believe that it's really like whatever helps you tell the story you need to tell or do what you need to do. There really aren't specific sizes at the end of the day for
Totally.
anything. I wanted to ask something a little different. I saw this thing, this link at the bottom of the site that I don't really like understand what it is, but it's beautiful. And then like you click on it and it's this other page for those of you who might not have seen it where anybody can like type in anything that they want to. And I was kind of exploring and Becca and I were looking around and it was like there were a bunch of really cute things like movie recommendations and like, oh my God, like I love everybody and all these like cute little messages. I'm curious like what that is and like what's the idea behind it and why how that came alive.
Yeah, so, I actually forgot about that for a couple months, and the other day I was, like, looking at the website, blah, blah, I was like, "Oh my god, forgot about this," and I clicked on it, and I started crying because I was like, "This is exactly what, like, sums up AMF to me," is, like, this community that none of them know each other on there, like, none of them know each other's names, and they're just, like, giving each other movie recommendations, and they're, like, talking about the pandemic, and they're, like, checking in on people, and, like, it's like this okay, so it's basically this document. I don't remember, it's like this software that you can get. It's kind of like a Google Doc, anonymous, and you can just type and everyone gets a different color, so, like, you can, like, tell what color you are, and you can just like leave a little message. But it's been on the website, I think, since like the first or second month that the website has been alive. And I like it because it's kind of like a little Easter egg. So like if you don't really look for it, you don't find it. So it's nice because like I really love to see that people are finding that because it means that people, I guess, are interacting with the website. But yeah, it's super fun and it makes me so happy to like see people in there and like see people chatting. Yeah.
Yeah, we love it. We left you a little comment before this, but going off of your website and who you are as a brand, tell us about All My Fears and what that is.
Totally. So I actually was gone during this time. I didn't hear about it. I was out off the grid for a little bit, but I got back and I was like on my computer and I like checked it and I was like, this is so cool. And so basically Ava, Lena, and Katie designed this printable mini zine for Halloween at home. So you can basically like, instead of, it's totally free. And instead of like buying an issue or like downloading it on issue or like seeing it on a some sort of viewing magazine viewing website, you can print it yourself. And so it's like a little at home mini zine and it has some games in it. But yeah, it was like I think they wanted it to be like a little buffer between issue 4 and 5 because we had a longer break in between the issues. It's super cute. I loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. When I saw this, I was like, oh, this is so exciting.
Yeah, it really is cute as heck. Like totally, totally. One last thing that I thought was super cool on the website is the "What are you afraid of?" button, or or page, where you can essentially fill out this form that asks like these pretty like deep questions, and you can kind of input something that you are deeply afraid of or that is concerning, but not have to receive any criticism or judgment or anything really coming back to you. How did that start, and how has that gone so far?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think like we've gotten like over 6,000 "What are you afraid of?" submissions since the time it's been on the site. I struggle with anxiety myself, and AMF has been a really great outlet for me because I can kind of like channel anxiety into creativeness, which I feel really lucky about. But I think there has been times in my life where I felt like kind of alone in these like sort of irrational fears that I felt. But I mean, like being able to see, we used to publish them a lot. We used to publish them once a week, but like publish all the submissions anonymously, obviously. Um, but after a while, I felt like I was more wondering, like, do people need this to see other people's fears, or do the people need this to get it off their chest? And I think like the conclusion that I made is that sometimes it's more helpful to like just like brain vomit and just like say all the things that you need to say to nobody, kind of like journaling. Um, and I think it's really helpful. In issue 3, we had a little section on the back, in the inside back cover, and you could write down what are you afraid of. And I liked having it be more physical because I think like when people go into their magazine again and like look and read it over, it's like if it's 2 years in the future and you've kind of moved past that fear, it's like, oh wow, look at that growth, and like look how much I've kind of like become a different person and like kind of gotten over my fears.
Yeah, definitely. I love the whole concept behind that. And I think it's a really good outlet to like let people vent and give themselves, like the space to share whatever they need to share. So, do you have any exciting things planned for AMF in 2021? Anything you want to share, tease, promote?
Oh my gosh. Yes, we are releasing issue 5, which I'm really excited about. We got super lucky, and we're working with a brand for this issue. So it's kind of top secret, but it's gonna be really great. And I'm excited to like. It feels like a new level of AMF for me, and I feel really lucky to be like engaging in this project because it feels new and it feels like nothing like we've done before. So I'm really excited for that. We're hoping in the summer, if Corona isn't as bad, that the 4 of us are gonna go live with Katie in New York, or the 3 of us are trying to go live with Katie in New York, maybe. And like this was my idea, and they all said no. But my idea is like we pull a Grimes and we lock ourselves in a room and we like crank out an issue in a week, but everyone was like, So yeah, I just like am so excited to work. And Ava says she didn't say no. Lena said no. Someone said no. Um, so yeah. I mean, I'm just like we don't have anything like solid planned after issue 5, but I know I'm so excited. I feel good about this year. I feel like it's going to be like a good start. And yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
That's super fun. I'm like very much on the edge of my seat for the next issue in that case. That's really exciting.
Thank you.
We're just about at time, but I'm gonna see if we can read off a few comments from a few questions from the chat really quick. Yeah, but hopefully we can do that quickly. But here's one. These are this is from Alyssa, and she says, how important is it to expand outside of your demographic in comparison to refining your content within your niche?
Totally. I think it's super important. I think like also like kind of moving away from what you're comfortable with, I think in the long run makes your work so much better and opens up your like readability to like a way broader scale. So I think like challenging yourself in that way, and like maybe if you like don't want to, like trying not to define a niche to yourself, I think could be really helpful, because then it's like your horizons are way broader and you have like a lot of more ideas coming in.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned that you're working with a brand in your next issue, which is super exciting. But going off of that, how do you reach out to brands or musicians or people that you want to collab with?
Um, Instagram DM is really helpful. And then always sending a follow-up email. For musicians, you can always find their manager email on their Facebook page. So that's what I always send follow-up emails to. But yeah, like, being polite but being persistent is how you get things done. And also, like, as you produce more work that you love, more people will come to you. So also like, doing your thing, and people will be attracted to that and like want to like gravitate towards you and work with you.
Awesome. I'll let you take a sip really quick. It seems like there are actually a bunch of people kind of asking like how to get started with collage, and like what kind of tools to use and how to begin doing that process.
Well, a little self promo. You can get our collage kits on our website for free, and those are super fun for starting out collage. Um, but yeah, I think collage is so awesome because you can literally do it with anything, like anything, anywhere, like finding little scraps of anything. Um, so yeah, I think like don't feel like you're glued to like one specific type of collage or like one specific look of collage, and like looking around you and finding inspiration slash resources of like things in your everyday life to incorporate into collage. I think collage is awesome. It's like such a fun outlet and like really cool way to like express yourself.
Awesome. Awesome. I want to ask one more to kind of like sum up a few more questions and, maybe like put a little bow on our discussion. What would be like one thing that you would share with somebody who's going to start a new zine? What would be like one nugget of wisdom or information that can kind of like, that they can take them with them on their journey?
Um, my like one of my biggest things is like, if you're not super happy to be doing it, then you're doing something wrong. So like always making sure that like you're in this because it makes you happy and like for no other reason. And like, I guess if you're the one in charge and other people aren't happy, then like you need to make sure that it's like a collective happiness, because I genuinely like think that that is when the best work happens, is like when everyone is really into it. Um, yeah, so like, and if you're like in it for any other reason, I don't think that it's going to be like as worth it than if you're in it just to like do it and just to be happy and be doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, those are all the questions we have for you today. Thank you so much for sitting down and answering not only our questions, but questions of people who love your zine and are interested in finding out more. Before we end this, do you have any last things you want to say?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, thank you guys. Thank you for everyone who came. Um, do it. Definitely do it. If you're thinking about it, it's so much better just to do it than to like sit on it. It, I don't like, even if you're making a magazine, if you're making a clothing brand, if you're doing anything, like do it. Like it will change your life. And if you are really into it, like you can do whatever you want to, and it's gonna be great.
Awesome. That's amazing. So if you like what you saw here, we have another panel tomorrow at 12 p.m. as well. So thank you, everyone.